In 2016, Casey Neistat ended the most watched daily vlog on the internet. At the exact moment, it was still growing. 5 million subscribers, over a billion views, revenue climbing every month. He stopped anyway, telling his audience there was nothing left to say through the format. The metrics were screaming reassurance at him. He ignored them. Seth Godin has published something close to 8,000 blog posts. On his own site, he's written that focus groups and informal feedback are a trap. The people you ask are rarely the ones your work is actually for. He built one of the most cited marketing platforms alive by refusing to let outside opinion gate what got published. Jason Fried co-founded Basecamp on the same refusal. In Rework, he and David Heinemeier Hansen call waiting for perfect information a trap with no exit. Decisions don't get safer the longer you sit on them. They just pile up. Basecamp shipped early and often, without waiting for a chorus of yeses first. 3 different fields, same move. All 3 stopped asking if it was okay and started reading the actual result instead. There's a name for what they refuse to do. It comes out of 3 separate, unconnected corners of clinical research that landed on the same finding without meaning to. Paul Salkowski's 1985 model of health anxiety, James Coyne's 1976 theory of depression, Adam Radomski's research on what's called checking by proxy in OCD. Different disorders, different decades, same mechanism. Reassurance lowers anxiety immediately. Then the anxiety comes back, often stronger, because the uncertainty underneath it was never actually resolved, just rented for a few hours. I call this the certainty debt loop. Every time you ask for reassurance, instead of letting the uncertainty sit, you're not paying off the doubt. You're borrowing against it, and loans compound. Quick pause, because this connects directly to something I built. If you recognize yourself in the decision loop specifically, running the same choice past 4 or 5 people, Daily Clarity Doors is a free app for that. You log the decision you're actually facing. The decision scale gives you a weighted breakdown of the pros and cons, and tells you something more useful than a pro-con list ever does, whether you're navigating a genuine trade-off or just spinning in place. A weekly review shows you the patterns in your own hesitation over time, and there's a running record of every past decision you've made, which matters more than it sounds, because most overthinkers badly underestimate how much they've already handled. It's free to experience, links below, back to the loop. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Reassurance genuinely works. For about 20 minutes. That's not a flaw in your character, it's the design. Research on reassurance-seeking in the anxiety disorders confirms it produces real, immediate relief, followed by what researchers literally call a paradoxical increase in anxiety and the urge to ask again. The default failure is treating reassurance like medicine. It's closer to a payday loan. It never touches the principal, it just resets the clock on the interest. Not everyone runs this loop the same way. 4 types show up consistently across the research. Type 1. The Verifier mechanism. What Rachman, 2002, and later Parrish and Radomski, 2010, termed checking by proxy, reconfirming information you've already been given, because the confirmation itself doesn't stick. Real example. In Parrish and Radomski's interview-based research, OCD patients described asking others to confirm a door was locked or a message was sent correctly, even after being told yes more than once in the same conversation. Type 2. The threat scanner mechanism. Salkowski's cognitive model of health anxiety. Reassurance cuts general anxiety briefly, but in health-anxious individuals, it rebounds fast, so the checking has to repeat. Real example. A study on anxious cancer patients in remission found reassurance from oncologists actually backfired for the most anxious patients. It maintained the anxiety it was meant to resolve. Type 3. The bond tester mechanism. Coyne's 1976 interactional theory, repeatedly seeking proof of being valued until the person giving reassurance grows tired of giving it. Real example. A meta-analysis of 38 studies and nearly 7,000 people found a real measurable link between this pattern and both depression and partner-reported rejection. The theory predicted its own consequence. Type 4. The decision loop mechanism, factor analytic work on reassurance, seeking identified uncertainty about decisions as its own distinct category, separate from relationship or threat-based reassurance seeking. Real example, running the same decision by 5 different people, hoping the 5th answer finally feels definitive when the actual problem was never a lack of input. 2 honest limits on this framework. First, this isn't treatment. The research showing reassurance seeking can be reduced happened inside structured CBT, not through people deciding on their own to just stop. If this loop is tangled up with a diagnosed anxiety disorder, it needs a clinician, not a video. Second, not all reassurance is a loop. Interview research by Haldorsson and Salkovskis, 2017, found people seek reassurance for legitimate reasons too, sharing responsibility, closing a real information gap. Early in a new relationship or facing a genuinely novel decision, checking in is just communication. Mislabel that as a loop and you isolate yourself over something healthy. 1 per type. Verifier. After someone answers you, do you ask again within the hour, worded differently, hoping for a different answer? Threat scanner. Does the relief from checking last under an hour before the worry returns at the same intensity? Bond tester. Have you asked for reassurance about the relationship itself more than once in the same conversation? Decision loop. Have you asked more than 3 people the same question, expecting the 4th answer to feel more true than the first 3? If more than one landed, you're not indecisive, you're running debt. If today put a name to something you already suspected about yourself, that's the actual outcome here, not a fix, a name. That's usually where it starts. There's a reason small actions feel disproportionately heavy once you're running a loop like this. Sending the email, making the call, closing the tab. Next video looks at why small actions feel enormous and what that swelling feeling is actually made of.